Have you ever found yourself in that relentless spiral? Constantly busy, perpetually stretched thin, responding to every single ping and request. Yet, at the end of the day, you look back and think, what did I actually achieve that truly matters? You're running on fumes, right? Your to-do list seems to grow longer the more you cross off, and that feeling of being truly productive or, in control, it feels like a distant dream.
It's such a common feeling.
What if the secret to achieving more and maybe experiencing greater joy and control isn't about working harder, but about a more disciplined, almost counterintuitive approach to what you choose to do?
It's a profoundly common scenario in our modern world, isn't it? That pervasive feeling of being utterly overwhelmed by just an endless stream of demands and opportunities. And it leaves us feeling stressed, diffused, and, well, fundamentally dissatisfied.
Yeah.
The good news, though, is there is a clear, actionable way to navigate this modern challenge. And it really starts with a shift in how we think about our choices.
Absolutely. So today we're embarking on a deep dive into this powerful, potentially life-changing concept of essentialism, drawn from McKeown's insightful book.
Yeah.
It's not about doing more. It's about a different way of doing everything.
Right.
McKeown defines essentialism as the disciplined pursuit of less, but better.
Right.
Think of it as a systematic, almost radical approach to really figuring out what is truly vital in your life and work, courageously cutting out what isn't, and then making the execution of those essential things almost effortless. That's the goal anyway.
And our mission for you today is really to pull out the most impactful, the most actionable strategies from essentialism. We want to make these transformative lessons easy and maybe even fun to grasp, to illuminate their deeper meaning.
Bring them to life.
Exactly. And provide truly enlightening and motivating pathways for you to immediately begin implementing them in your own life, both personally and professionally. This deep dive is thoroughly grounded in McKeown's work, so it provides not just a summary, but hopefully a practical roadmap for real, lasting change.
Okay, so let's unpack the core mindset that underpins all of this, what McKeown calls the essence of why less is truly more.
Let's do it.
So the first step in embracing essentialism is to fully recognize the problem, this whirlwind of non-essentialism we often find ourselves caught in. And McKeown illustrates this with something he calls the paradox of success.
It's a fascinating and almost cruel irony, isn't it? How achieving success can actually become a catalyst for failure if we're not careful. It seems to unfold in phases.
Okay.
Phase one, when we have a clear purpose and a defined focus, it enables us to succeed spectacularly. That initial clarity is key.
Right, makes sense.
But that success, in turn, makes us a go-to person in phase two. Suddenly, you've got increased options, invitations, opportunities coming at you from all directions. People want a piece of what made you successful.
And here's where the paradox kicks in, right? Where the path diverges. Because in phase three, these increased options and opportunities, they transform into increased demands on our time, our energy, our resources, leading to diffused efforts.
Spread thin.
Exactly. We get spread thinner and thinner, saying yes to things that are merely good because they came our way, instead of maybe holding out for the truly great.
And then comes phase four, the unfortunate and often unseen outcome. We become distracted, sometimes completely disconnected from what would otherwise be our highest level of contribution. The very clarity that led to our initial success gets undermined, watered down by 1,000 minor commitments.
It's a self-defeating loop, a subtle erosion of focus. You mentioned Jim Collins. In his book, How the Mighty Fall, he highlights this, finding that for many companies, the undisciplined pursuit of more was a key reason for their collapse.
Yeah, and that's not just true for massive corporations. It's a deeply personal truth for individuals, too. It leads straight to burnout and dissatisfaction.
And this paradox is relentlessly perpetuated by what McKeown calls the myth of you can have it all. We're constantly bombarded by society, by advertising, even the implicit demands of job descriptions, pushing this damaging idea that we can and should do everything. We feel guilty if we don't try.
It's everywhere.
Think about the word priority. It entered the English language in the 1400s as singular, meaning the very first or prior thing, one thing. For over 500 years, it remained exclusively singular.
It's truly mind-boggling when you consider that historical context. One single first thing, and then only in the 1900s did we illogically pluralize it to priorities, trying to bend the very fabric of reality to suggest we can have multiple first things simultaneously.
That doesn't make sense.
It's a linguistic absurdity that perfectly mirrors our modern mindset. I've heard leaders talk about pry 1, pry 2, pry 3, pry 4, and pry 5 as if that makes sense. But what it really means, in a practical sense, is that nothing is truly a priority.
Right. If everything's important, nothing is.
Exactly. When you don't choose deliberately where to focus your finite energy and precious time, others will inevitably choose for you. Your boss, colleagues, clients, even your well-meaning family and friends. And before you know it, you've lost sight of everything meaningful, constantly reacting instead of truly living.
It's like our lives become this perpetually cluttered closet. That visual really hits home for me. Imagine your wardrobe without any conscious effort to organize it. It doesn't magically stay neat and tidy with just the few outfits you love and wear constantly, does it?
No, absolutely not.
Instead, it gets stuffed, overflowing with clothes you rarely, if ever, wear. You might try to purge it, sure, but without a disciplined system, you either keep everything because you can't decide, or maybe you regret giving things away later, or you have a perpetually growing pile you don't want but never actually get rid of.
And here's where the analogy gets even more vivid and relatable for your daily life. Our lives aren't static like clothes simply waiting in a closet. New clothes, new demands, new opportunities, new crises are constantly being shoved in.
Yeah, that's the key.
You start your workday with a clear schedule, a concise list of what's essential, but by 10 a.m., you're already off track, pulled into unexpected emergencies or those quick requests that somehow stretch into hours.
Always the quick ones.
Right. Your to-do list by 5 p.m. is often longer than it was in the morning. Your quiet weekend plans are suddenly inundated with errands, social obligations you didn't quite manage to say no to, and unforeseen calamities. It feels like you're perpetually behind, always playing catch-up, never truly ahead.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
But the good news, the liberating insight here, is that essentialism is about creating a deliberate, systematic approach to manage that ever-expanding closet of your life. It's about designing your life, not just defaulting to it.
Okay, so this brings us to the stark, yet incredibly liberating distinction McKeown makes between the non-essentialist and the essentialist. A non-essentialist takes on too much. Their work suffers in quality and depth. They constantly feel out of control, unsure if the right things got done, perpetually overwhelmed, and ultimately exhausted, living a life that doesn't truly satisfy or fulfill them. Sound familiar?
Painfully so, for many. But on the other hand, the essentialist chooses carefully and deliberately. They do great work that makes a real impact. They feel authentically in control. They consistently get the right things done.
And crucially,
They experience genuine joy in the journey, not just chasing some distant outcome. And they live a life that really matters, a life of purpose and profound contribution. It's a path not just to new levels of success, but importantly, you enjoy the process along the way.
okay, so given this stark contrast, how do we actually begin to cultivate this essentialist mindset? It starts, McKeown says, with 3 fundamental shifts in how we perceive and interact with the world around us.
Right. The first, and arguably the most profound shift, is to reclaim the invincible power of choice. It sounds obvious, doesn't it? Of course we have a choice, yet so often we act as if we don't.
We forget.
We fall into a trap that Martin Seligman and Steve Mayer identified through their really important work on learned helplessness. In their experiments, dogs who were repeatedly exposed to electric shocks with no way to escape eventually learned to be utterly passive, helpless. Even when escape became possible later on, they simply lay down and accepted their fate. They learned helplessness.
It's a heartbreaking image, and it's almost too easy to fall into that human version of the trap, isn't it? To feel like a victim of circumstances, of endless demands, of forces beyond our control.
Exactly. We become passive, accepting situations and others' agendas without question, often without even realizing we're doing it.
But the profound motivating truth, as McKeown emphasizes, is that our ability to choose is fundamental. It's inherent. It cannot truly be forgotten. It can only be suppressed. That power is still there, maybe lying dormant. The first, most liberating step is simply recognizing and reclaiming this innate ability. You can choose to choose. You are not a victim of circumstance, but an agent of your own life. That's incredibly empowering just to hear.
It really is. And next, we need to internalize a radical concept. Discern the unimportance of practically everything. Think of Boxer the horse from George Orwell's Animal Farm.
Boxer.
Yeah. His unwavering, tragic answer to every single setback, every challenge, was simply, I will work harder. He worked himself to exhaustion, to his ultimate demise, and his indiscriminate efforts only exacerbated problems. They never truly solved them.
He's the non-essentialist trap personified.
Exactly. That naive belief that more effort applied anywhere and everywhere is always the answer.
And what's fascinating is how our brains are wired to resist this truth.
Yeah.
Right? We always want to accumulate rather than subtract, to add more rather than pare down.
We do. But in reality, life isn't a linear one-to-one relationship between effort and results. The Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, suggests that roughly 20% of our efforts produce 80% of the results.
Right, they're the vital few.
But some, like Nathan Myhrvold, former CTO of Microsoft, suggest a power law where certain efforts can produce exponentially more results, like top software developers being maybe 10,000 times more productive than average ones.
Wow, 10,000 times.
It's not just a little more productive, it's orders of magnitude. This isn't about working less overall, it's about working smarter, working on the right things.
So this powerful reality leads to an almost startling conclusion. Almost everything is worthless, and a very few things are exceptionally valuable. Or, as leadership expert John Maxwell put it even more succinctly, you cannot overestimate the unimportance of practically everything.
It sounds harsh, but it's liberating. This means an essentialist doesn't just hope for the vital few to emerge. They actively scan for them, and then eagerly, ruthlessly eliminate the trivial many.
Which allows you to confidently, maybe even joyfully, say no to merely good opportunities, clearing the path to say an unequivocal yes to truly great ones. It's about a radical reevaluation of what holds true value.
Absolutely. And finally, we arrive at the often dreaded yet profoundly empowering concept of trade-off. Which problem do I want?
Trade-offs. Nobody likes those.
Well, Michael Porter, the renowned Harvard Business School professor, famously said that strategy is about making choices, trade-offs. It's about deliberately choosing to be different. It's not about trying to do it all to straddle multiple paths.
Which never works.
Right. It's about consciously and deliberately choosing what you will not do, so you can pour all your energy and focus into what you will.
And this isn't just abstract business theory for the C-suite, is it?
Not at all. Think about Southwest Airlines. In an industry notorious for razor-thin profits and constant struggles, Southwest consistently delivered amazing results.
How?
By making deliberate, hard trade-offs that others avoided.
Like what?
Well, they chose to offer only point-to-point flights, no meals in flight, no assigned seats. These weren't accidental omissions. They were conscious, strategic choices to maintain an ultra-low-cost strategy. Competitors like Continental Airlines tried to straddle strategies with Continental Light, attempting to offer some low-cost options while keeping their full-service model. The result? They undermined their own competitive edge, confused customers, compromised quality, and ultimately failed because they didn't make clear trade-offs. You simply cannot be everything to everyone and be truly great at anything.
Another powerful example, this time of ethical leadership through trade-offs, is Johnson & Johnson during that horrific 1982 Tylenol cyanide murder scandal.
Oh yes, a defining moment.
They owned a massive 37% of the over-the-counter painkiller market, but 7 innocent people died after taking tampered Tylenol. Faced with the choice between protecting market share and ensuring customer safety, their existing credo, a statement written way back in 1943 prioritizing customers first, shareholders last made the essential trade-off crystal clear.
They didn't hesitate, did they?
No, they didn't deliberate for weeks. They made the tough, essential decision to pull all Tylenol from store shelves nationwide. An estimated $100 million recall. This set an enduring gold standard for corporate ethics, demonstrating that a clear, essential purpose guides decisive action, even when the stakes are incredibly high.
And you can see this profound principle of trade-offs manifesting powerfully in personal life, too. Consider Jim Collins, the author of Good to Great. He made a conscious, deliberate choice to focus on producing great ideas and impactful research rather than building a large, sprawling company.
Right, he kept his team small.
Exactly. To this day, his company operates with only a handful of full-time employees, yet his ideas have reached millions and reshaped countless organizations. Or think of parents who make the conscious choice to focus their son's activities, not letting him try everything, but targeting his efforts towards specific areas aligned with his goal of Harvard admission.
That takes discipline.
It does. Or the couple who decided not to join any clubs. No local lodge, no book clubs, no social committees, so they could dedicate that precious time and energy solely to their children, making them their best friends. These are all strategic trade-offs.
It's interesting, isn't it, how we've been conditioned to see trade-offs as a negative, as giving something up.
The sacrifice.
But Essentialists don't view trade-offs as inherently negative. Instead of asking, what do I have to give up, which frames the decision negatively, they ask, what do I want to go big on?
That's a fantastic reframing.
This small but profound shift in thinking is incredibly motivating and profoundly empowering. It reframes the decision from one of loss to one of powerful, deliberate choice, allowing you to focus your energy where it truly matters and where you can make your highest contribution.
Okay, so once you have that core mindset firmly established, the power of choice, the unimportance of most things, the necessity of trade-offs, the next crucial step is to truly explore and discover what's essential in your unique context.
Right. How do you actually find the essential?
And for McKeown, this begins with intentionally creating space for deeper thinking.
Space. That sounds nice. And rare.
It is rare. In our perpetually connected, gadget-filled, and increasingly noisy world, the opportunity for quiet, uninterrupted thought is rapidly diminishing. We've lost those natural lulls, the moments of boredom that previously allowed our brains to wander, process, and connect disparate ideas.
Yeah, boredom gets a bad rap.
It does. McKeown observes that the faster and busier things get, the more we need to build thinking time into our schedule. And the noisier things get, the more we need to build quiet reflection spaces. Without this, we just become reactive, perpetually responding to external stimuli rather than proactively shaping our own thoughts and insights.
This isn't just theoretical, right? You mentioned some examples.
Absolutely. Think of the Silicon Valley executive McKeown mentions, who was so profoundly distracted by constant demands that he literally gave away his phone and went to a motel with no internet for 8 weeks just to finish a major project.
Wow. Extreme.
He understood, viscerally, the need for unencumbered thought. Or consider Sir Isaac Newton, who spent 2 years in almost solitary confinement during the plague years, dedicating himself to thinking on it continually. It was during this period of deliberate isolation and intense focus that he developed the foundational concepts for Principia Mathematica, fundamentally reshaping our understanding of the universe.
Well, focus requires space.
It does. McKeown himself adopted a rigorous monk mode for writing his book, blocking off 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily with no emails, calls, or interruptions, immersing himself completely. And Jeff Weiner, the CEO of LinkedIn, schedules up to 2 hours of blank, unscheduled buffer time on his calendar every single day. He calls it his single most valuable productivity tool.
2 hours of nothing. That must feel weird at first.
It might feel indulgent or inefficient initially, but it's absolutely essential to be in charge of your own day and your own thoughts, rather than being perpetually at its mercy, just reacting to the next notification. This isn't about being bored. It's about making deliberate, sacred space for the deep, creative thought that leads to true breakthroughs.
Another crucial element of creating this essential space is space to read. We often hear about leaders who read voraciously. Bill Gates famously takes a Think Week twice a year.
Right, the legendary Think Week.
Secluding himself completely to read dozens of articles and books, immersing himself in complex ideas, and focusing on the bigger picture for Microsoft and now the Gates Foundation. He did this even during Microsoft's busiest periods, understanding that deep, uninterrupted learning wasn't a luxury, but a strategic imperative.
For you listening, a full Think Week might not be feasible right now, but you can build a little Think Week into every day. McKeown suggests starting your day by reading something from classic literature for the first 20 minutes, something written before our hyper-connected era, before the constant barrage of digital information fragmented our attention.
So, not scrolling the news feed.
Definitely not. It's about engaging with works like Zen texts, Confucius, the Torah, the Bible, Tao, the Quran, As a Man Thinketh, Gandhi, Walden, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, or the Upanishads. This practice not only broadens your perspective and challenges ingrained assumptions, but it also centers your day, connects you to timeless themes and profound ideas. Ideas essential enough to have withstood the test of time, grounding you before the digital onslaught begins.
Okay, so once you've carved out that sacred space for reflection, the next step in discovering what's essential is active discernment, peeling back the layers, going beyond the superficial. First, you need to look, see what really matters, which McKeown describes as becoming a journalist of your own life.
I like that. Nora Ephron, the brilliant writer, learned this in high school journalism. Always identify the lead, the why, what, when, and who of a story. This is how you capture the essence, the core truth.
Get to the heart of it.
Exactly. The danger, as tragically illustrated by the Eastern Airlines Flight 401 crash, is succumbing to hyperfocus on minor details. The flight crew became so fixated on a tiny, burnt-out landing gear indicator light, a non-essential detail, that they failed to notice the autopilot had quietly deactivated and the plane's altitude was plummeting.
Oh my God.
They lost sight of the bigger picture, the truly essential information. We're falling out of the sky. It's a powerful metaphor for our own lives, where we often get bogged down in minutia and lose sight of our overall direction.
So to avoid this perilous trap, you need to apply those sharp journalistic skills to your own life. This isn't about journaling every single detail, but actively looking for the lead, the broader patterns, the underlying trends, the recurring themes in your experiences.
Connect the dots.
This allows you to connect the dots of your daily activities to see the larger issues that truly matter, rather than getting lost in the noise. As the saying goes, the faintest pencil is better than the strongest memory.
McKeown highlights Jane Chen's Embrace Nest for low birth weight babies as a perfect, inspiring example. Instead of simply creating a cheaper electric incubator, which was the initial assumption of the problem, her team courageously got out into the field in Nepal.
They went to see the real problem.
Exactly. And there they made a critical discovery. 80% of babies were born at home in rural villages without electricity. This crucial insight completely changed the question they were trying to answer.
So the initial solution wouldn't have worked for most people.
Precisely. And it led to the Embrace Nest, a non-electric, wax-heated pod that truly solved the essential problem and has saved countless lives. It's a testament to the power of looking beyond the obvious, looking for the real lead.
This clarity of looking for the lead leads directly to the next crucial step.
Yeah.
You must clarify the question. We often evade hard questions, consciously or unconsciously, getting caught in vague, sprawling, and ultimately unproductive debates.
Oh, those meetings, yeah. Eli Cohen's team at Salesforce.com experienced this firsthand. Bogged down in a sprawling business simulation, they couldn't make progress until McKeown made them pause and explicitly ask, what question are we really trying to answer? Once they crystallized that single essential question, they gained immediate momentum and won the simulation by a landslide.
The power of a clear question leads to the power of clear purpose.
Yeah.
Contrast a vague, uninspiring mission statement like eliminate hunger in the world for a 5-person team, which is noble but utterly unactionable with Brad Pitt's Make It Right organization.
Right after Hurricane Katrina.
Their essential intent was clear and concrete: to build 150 affordable, green, storm-resistant homes for families living in the lower 9th Ward. This specificity, this concreteness, made it real. And that realness made it profoundly inspiring. It mobilized efforts and created alignment around something truly excellent. Clarity of purpose is the engine that drives essential contribution, avoiding that wasteful motion sickness of endless, vague discussions.
Then there's the surprising and maybe delightful genius of play, the genius of restorative exploration. Research by Jack Panksepp on emotions reveals that during play, animals are especially prone to behave in flexible and creative ways. And Stuart Brown, a leading researcher, posits that humans are the biggest players of all, built to play and built through play. He argues play is the purest expression of our humanity.
It's not a luxury, then, a frivolous distraction for when all the real work is done.
Not at all. It's an absolutely essential activity that expands our minds, fosters creativity, helps us explore new ideas, and prevents burnout. Think about it. The times you feel most alive, most engaged, the memories you cherish most are often moments of uninhibited play.
That's true.
Even small things like an easy button on an office desk, a few desk toys, or a poster reminding you of childhood joy can be powerful cues to integrate playfulness into your day. They act as crucial micro breaks that prevent burnout and enhance overall well-being. It's about creating space for joy and exploration, not just relentless production.
And this naturally segues into another critical, often overlooked essential: sleep. Protect the asset.
So important. McKeown shares the story of Jeff, a textbook overachiever, a high-flying executive who experienced severe physical symptoms like anxiety attacks, a true breakdown, all due to chronic sleep deprivation from constant travel and relentless overwork.
Scary.
His ultimate hard-won lesson, learned through immense personal cost, was profoundly simple. Protect the asset. Your mind and body are your most valuable assets. treat them that way.
We often fall into the sleep is for the weak mentality, though, don't we? It's like a badge of honor for the perpetually busy.
We do, but McKeown powerfully challenges that. Bill Clinton himself admitted that every major mistake he had made in his life had happened as a result of sleep deprivation. Sleep isn't an enemy of productivity. It's actually a fundamental driver of peak performance.
Right.
Many people are so chronically tired, they've actually forgotten what being truly rested and clear-headed feels like. Consider the surprising finding from the famous 10,000-hour rule study. The second most important factor differentiating the world's best violinists from merely good ones was sleep.
Really? Not just practice.
Sleep was critical. They averaged 8.6 hours of sleep in 24 hours, an hour longer than the average, and napped for 2.8 hours per week. This allowed them to practice with far greater concentration and get exponentially more out of their practice efforts.
Wow. Okay, so sleep makes practice more effective.
Exactly. Leading companies like Google even provide nap pods because they recognize sleep not as a luxury, but as a critical component of productivity and well-being. Essentialists don't just hope for sleep, they deliberately and systematically build it into their schedules as a priority. They understand it's necessary for operating at high levels of contribution.
Choosing to do one fewer thing now by prioritizing sleep can yield massive rewards tomorrow. It lets you do more, achieve more, explore more, better.
Precisely. It's an investment.
Finally, in this process of discovering what's truly essential, you need to apply extreme criteria. This is the uncompromising power of saying hell yeah or no.
Derek Sivers' famous rule. If the answer isn't a definite, total, utter conviction, a resounding hell yeah to do something, then the answer should be an immediate, clear no.
No, maybe.
No, maybe. No, I guess so. Or, as a leader at Twitter put it, if the answer isn't a definite yes, then it should be a no. There's no middle ground. Sivers himself lived this by saying no to all job candidates until he found the absolute right person who evoked that hell yeah response. He chose to skip multiple conferences he wasn't stoked about to gain 12 incredibly productive days. This radical focus transforms decision-making.
This philosophy is powerfully embodied in McKeown's 90% rule, a practical application of extreme criteria. When evaluating opportunities, a new project, a job offer, even a social invitation, identify your minimum and ideal attributes. If something doesn't score at least a 9 out of 10 on your ideal attributes,
The essential ones.
the answer should be no. Anything less than a 7 is automatically out. Even 7s and 8s, which might seem good enough, are still a no. This might sound harsh, even terrifying, but it forces you to eliminate clutter and makes invaluable space for truly great things to emerge.
That Vitso furniture example is great. For decades, they've offered only one product, the 606 Universal Shelving System. Why? Because it's the only product that makes the cut for their extremely high standards of quality and essentialist design.
That's commitment.
Their hiring reflects this too. Mark Adams of Vitso hires by asking, could this person have been one of the founding members of the team? If the answer isn't an enthusiastic yes, it's a no.
This rigorous application of extreme criteria helps you fight the pervasive fear of missing out, FOMO, particularly with opportunities that just come along without you seeking them.
Right, the easy yeses.
We often feel compelled to say yes to easy, unexpected opportunities, even if they're not essential or aligned with our core purpose, out of a subconscious fear of loss. But this risks having to say a painful no to far more meaningful ones later.
Consider Nancy Duarte's communication agency. In 2000, they were generalists. After reading Good to Great, she realized their unique, essential opportunity was designing presentations work no one else wanted to specialize in. By bravely saying no to everything else, even in bad economic times, they became the premier company in the world for presentations. They chose their essential niche and dominated it.
And think of the personal power in this. Marine explorer Enric continually said no to many good and very good parallel opportunities. He waited patiently for years until the one opportunity that truly aligned with his lifelong dream to dive in pristine oceans and influence global policy as an explorer in residence with National Geographic finally presented itself.
Imagine the discipline that took.
The discipline of saying no to the good was profoundly worth it. McKeown suggests a simple, systematic way for you to evaluate opportunities. 1, write it down. 2, list 3 minimal criteria it must pass. 3, list 3 ideal or extreme criteria it must also pass. If it fails any minimum, it's no. If it fails 2 out of 3 extreme criteria, it's still no.
It brings discipline and clarity. It empowers those courageous choices.
Okay, so once you've explored and discerned what's truly essential, the next big, often challenging hurdle is eliminating the non-essential. It's not enough to just identify what isn't serving you. You have to actively and courageously remove it.
Yes, this is where the rubber meets the road. Think back to our closet metaphor. You've done the hard work of dividing your clothes into must keep and probably should get rid of, but here's the real challenge, the moment of truth. Are you actually ready to bag up that second pile and send it away irrevocably?
The actual letting go.
That's the true test of essentialism. McKeown provides what he calls the killer question to help overcome our natural reluctance to let go, which stems from our tendency to overvalue things we already own, the endowment effect. Ask, if I didn't already own this, how much would I spend to buy it now?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Apply this to the activities, commitments, opportunities in your life. If I didn't have this opportunity, what would I be willing to do? What would I sacrifice to acquire it today? If the answer isn't much, then it's a strong candidate for elimination.
This active elimination leads to the ultimate question that clarifies everything. It's not, what of my long length of competing priorities should I say yes to? That's the non-essentialist trap. Instead, the essential question is, what will I say no to?
That's the core.
This is the question that forces clarity, that truly reveals your authentic priorities and illuminates the best path forward. This clarity isn't just theoretical. It can deliver game-changing breakthroughs.
And a major part of that clarity is the ability to clarify one decision that makes 1,000. When teams or individuals lack a clear, overarching purpose, McKeown identifies two highly problematic patterns that emerge, wasting immense amounts of time and energy.
What are they?
First, playing politics, where people focus on winning the manager's favor, accumulating visible but ultimately non-essential tasks instead of truly contributing to the core mission. In personal life, this looks like wasting time trying to look good, seeking external validation, overvaluing non-essentials like bigger cars or more social media followers, while neglecting essentials like loved ones or health.
The second pattern.
It's all good, which is bad. Without clear direction, people pursue a multitude of short-term interests, even if well-intentioned, without contributing to a cohesive whole, resulting in a fragmented, unproductive mess. Think of Emerson calling this the crime which bankrupts men and states, declining from your main design to serve a turn here or there.
Right, like 5 different majors don't equal a degree.
Exactly. True clarity of purpose, a single, compelling, essential intent, empowers everyone to push back on non-essentials and unite around a shared goal. This creates powerful alignment and accelerates progress, like Brad Pitt's Make It Right foundation.
To truly eliminate non-essentials and protect that clarity, you also have to dare the power of a graceful no. Courage is profoundly central here. It's hard to say no, isn't it?
It really is. We fear missing out, rocking the boat, burning bridges, or simply disappointing people. The weight of social expectation can feel enormous.
But consider Rosa Parks. Her resolute no on that segregated bus wasn't born of an inherently assertive personality. She was described as too timid to say no to being an NAACP secretary. Her courage came from a deep, unwavering clarity about avoiding humiliation.
A deep conviction.
She felt a determination cover my body like a quilt on a winter night. She knew it was the very last time. This kind of clarity, this deep internal conviction, provides the strength and the force field to say no. As McKeown puts it, either we can say no and regret it for a few minutes, or we can say yes and regret it for days, weeks, months, or even years.
Wow, that puts it in perspective. So how do you say no gracefully without alienating people?
Yeah.
McKeown offers several practical strategies. First, the no-but approach. You firmly decline while offering a clear alternative or suggesting a future possibility, like, I'm completely consumed with my book right now, but I'd absolutely love to get together once it's finished. Email is great for practicing this, as the distance reduces awkwardness.
Another incredibly useful phrase, let me check my calendar and get back to you, buys you invaluable time for a thoughtful decision instead of a knee-jerk yes.
Or using a monk mode auto response like McKeown did, explaining a period of deep focus. People are often more understanding than you might think.
And a really powerful one, especially with the superior.
Yes.
What should I deprioritize to accommodate this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That forces the trade-off conversation.
Exactly. It makes them acknowledge the trade-off, often leading them to retract the non-essential request. You can also use humor, or the precise phrasing. You are welcome to X, I'm willing to Y, clearly stating boundaries while offering partial support, or just refer someone else. I can't do it, but X might be interested.
Good practical tips. Beyond mastering the graceful no, you need to fundamentally uncommit. Win big by cutting your losses. This means actively avoiding the insidious sunk cost bias.
Ah, yes, throwing good money after bad.
Exactly. Continuing to invest time, money, or energy into something known to be a losing proposition simply because you've already poured so much in. The more invested you are, the harder it is to let go.
The Concorde jet is a classic example.
A painful one. Billions poured in for decades due to sunk costs, even knowing it wouldn't be profitable. Or Henry Gribon losing his life savings at a carnival game for an Xbox. The more he spent, the harder it was to walk away.
So the non-essentialist asks, why stop now?
Right. But the essentialist asks, with clear-eyed courage, if I weren't already invested in this, how much would I invest in it now? This perspective gives you the freedom to admit mistakes and uncommit, cutting losses to save future resources.
You also need to be aware of the endowment effect, overvaluing things just because we own them. Kahneman's coffee mug study showed owners valued mugs twice as high as non-owners.
The antidote. Pretend you don't own it yet. Ask, if I didn't have this opportunity, how much would I sacrifice to obtain it? If not much, it's probably not essential.
And we often struggle with the fear of waste. Adults are more susceptible to sunk cost bias due to a lifetime of don't waste conditioning. The ski trip scenario illustrates this. Choosing the more expensive, less enjoyable trip when sick, just to avoid feeling wasteful, thereby wasting more.
The solution is liberating. Admit failure to begin success. No shame in admitting a mistake. It means you're wiser now.
Also, stop trying to force a fit. Like Dustin Hoffman in Tootsie, desperately trying to fit mismatched roles. If something's clearly not right, stop forcing it. Get a neutral second opinion from someone not emotionally invested.
And be aware of the status quo bias, doing things because that's how it's always been done. Outdated systems, legacy projects.
The cure. Apply zero-based budgeting. Start from scratch. Imagine all commitments are gone, then rigorously justify each one anew. If it doesn't fit, eliminate it.
Crucially for daily interactions, stop making casual commitments. Those offhand comments that morph into obligations. Pause for 5 seconds before agreeing. Ask yourself, is this essential? If you've already committed casually, politely explain you didn't realize the full implications.
And finally, to proactively fight FOMO, run a reverse pilot. Instead of prototyping a new initiative, test removing an existing one. See if it actually has a negative impact.
You might be surprised. Often removing something frees up resources with little downside. It tests true essentiality.
All this active elimination leads to eat it, the invisible art of subtracting. McKeown uses the analogy of film editing, the invisible art. Michael Kahn, Spielberg's editor, his work correlates strongly with award-winning films because editing is the strict elimination of the trivial.
The core idea is profound. Making things better often means subtracting something, not adding more. Eliminate distracting words, images, details. Make every element count. McKeown outlines 4 principles for editing your life.
Okay, what are they?
1. Cut. Ruthlessly remove irrelevant options, activities, conversations. If it's not, hell yeah, cut it.
2.
Condense. Do more with less. Make every word activity count more. Lower the ratio of effort to results. Think Graham Hill's life-edited apartment multifunctional furniture, or the employees skipping a 2-hour meeting for a 10-minute summary, reinvesting the saved time.
3.
Correct. Focus on precision and accuracy, not just broad strokes. Fine-tune essential contributions.
And 4.
Edit less. Counterintuitively, the best editors know when not to change anything. Restraint. Resist replying all, adding comments everywhere. Sometimes observing and waiting is the most powerful choice.
This active elimination process also ties into the power of boundaries. Boundaries are often mistakenly seen as restrictive.
Right, as limiting. But McKeown argues they're a profound source of liberation. Think of a school playground near a busy road. Without a fence, kids play close to the building, fearful. With a fence, their freedom more than doubles. They can play anywhere within the protected area without fear.
So clear boundaries free us.
Exactly. They free us to operate within the deliberately chosen areas of our highest contribution, protecting our time and energy from the traffic of others' agendas.
The practical application. Craft social contracts. Proactively lay out your priorities and what you won't take on up front with colleagues, friends, family. This shared understanding prevents wasted time and burdensome requests, allowing everyone to contribute best within agreed limits. It's about being clear and kind.
Okay, so you've discerned what's essential, courageously eliminated the non-essential. Now, how do you make doing those vital few things almost effortless? This brings us to the final phase, execute.
Making it happen smoothly.
It starts with preparing for the unexpected by building a buffer, the unfair advantage. Think of Joseph in the Bible suggesting the Pharaoh store grain for 7 years, creating a massive buffer for the unpredictable famine.
Right. Planning for the unknown.
We live in an inherently unpredictable world. Essentialists proactively build in buffers, extra time, resources, space to reduce friction caused by inevitable unexpected events, Murphy's Law moments.
Non-essentialists, meanwhile, assume the best-case scenario, always underestimating time, the planning fallacy. Studies show even when students knew they underestimated, they still did.
But an essentialist deliberately builds in slack, like the workshop facilitator scheduling a full hour for Q&A, preventing rushing. Or the mother packing a week early for vacation, ensuring a frictionless journey despite traffic. Contrast Britain spending its oil windfall immediately, with Norway creating a massive sovereign wealth fund as a buffer. Foresight is key.
This proactive mindset leads to extreme preparation. McKeown, as a grad student, copied syllabi day one, calendaring big projects immediately, creating buffers.
And the classic historical example, Amundsen versus Scott in the race to the South Pole. Amundsen, the essentialist, prepared for anything. 4 thermometers, 3 tons of food, 20 supply markers. He built in slack. Scott hoped for the best, brought minimal supplies, and tragically failed.
Jim Collins' research backs this up. Companies thriving in chaos didn't predict better. They prepared better.
To implement this personally, McKeown suggests conduct scenario planning. Ask 5 questions for your most important projects. 1. What risks? 2. Worst case scenario. 3. Social effects. 4. Financial impact. 5. How can you invest now to reduce risks or strengthen resilience? Like adding 20% to a budget, managing expectations. This identifies concrete buffers.
Another powerful execution strategy, subtract. Bring forth more by removing obstacles. The business parable. The goal illustrates this. Focus on removing constraints or bottlenecks, the slowest hiker holding the system back. Improving elsewhere doesn't help if the constraint remains.
A non-essentialist reacts with quick fixes, more pressure-like, plugging a leaking dam with a finger adding friction. The essentialist proactively steps back, asks what's getting in the way, then makes a one-time strategic investment in removing the root obstacles, maximizing results by reducing effort.
Like the Richmond Police Department shifting from reactive policing, catching criminals, to proactive, limiting causes of crime with positive tickets, reducing recidivism by removing obstacles to good behavior.
Then there's progress. The power of small wins. Understanding that small, incremental changes have a huge cumulative effect. Compound interest for your efforts. These small wins are profoundly motivating, reversing feelings of powerlessness, creating a virtuous cycle.
To apply this, focus on minimal viable progress, MVP. Adopt the Silicon Valley mindset. Done is better than perfect. Not about rubbish, but avoiding wasted time on non-essentials early on. Think. What's the simplest possible useful version?
Like Pixar. They don't actually finish our films, we release them. Iterative process, storyboards, early feedback, learning quickly with minimal wasted effort. And crucially, start small. For a big presentation months away, open a file, spend 4 minutes jotting ideas. For a meeting, take 15 seconds to type objectives beforehand. Tiny investments yield big dividends.
And to truly make essentialism effortless, harness FLO. The genius of routine. Think of Michael Phelps' incredibly detailed pre-race ritual, warm-up, earbud sequence, stretches, makes high-stakes actions almost effortless by reducing mental load.
Cognitively, routines strengthen neural connections, shifting work to the basal ganglia, freeing conscious mental space. The brain can almost shut down for the routine, a real advantage for focus. And counterintuitively, routines enhance innovation by minimizing decision fatigue, allowing intense concentration. Csikszentmihalyi observed highly creative people often have strict routines.
Like the Silicon Valley CEO's unmissable 3-hour Monday meeting setting the week's flow.
You don't need one rigid routine. Jack Dorsey uses themed days, Monday for management, Tuesday for product. Different routines for different days maintain structure without boredom. Consistency where it serves your highest contribution.
Finally, bringing it all together. Focus. What's important now? WODN. Legendary rugby coach Larry Gelwicks constantly asks his players, what's important now? Keeps them from rehashing mistakes or worrying about the future, focusing them on their game right now.
Gelwicks's philosophy is profound. Difference between losing and being beaten. Beaten means opponent is better. Losing means you lost focus on the essential. Operating at your highest level requires tuning into the here and now.
The ancient Greeks had chronos, sequential time, versus kairos, the right opportune moment. Non-essentialists fixate on chronos, past future, missing the present kairos. Essentialists tune into the present.
So when overwhelmed, don't let past failures or future anxieties distract from the current moment where effort matters most. Practical tip. List everything on your mind. Then ask, what do I need to do right now to sleep peacefully tonight? Prioritize only those essential tasks. Work through them calmly, one at a time.
Like Jeffrey Rogers' pause that refreshes. After work, stopping at the door, breathing deeply, letting work fall away to be fully present with family. Being truly present is crucial for your highest contribution in all parts of life.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's briefly recap the core liberating message of essentialism. It's the disciplined pursuit of less, but better. It's a transformative journey starting with clarifying choices, empowering courageous elimination, and making execution almost effortless. The benefits are profound. More clarity, more control, and a life that truly matters, filled with purpose.
Remember, becoming an essentialist is a profound, liberating choice. It's your choice. It's not about adding more, but strategically removing non-essentials. This creates invaluable space, time, and energy for what truly matters, leading to cumulative benefits of clarity and effortless execution. It's a pathway to a genuinely fulfilling life.
Instead of trying to add something new to your already packed schedule, another productivity hack, I want to leave you with a different, maybe provocative thought. Consider one area of your life right now: work, relationships, well-being. What single non-essential commitment, activity, or perhaps even a limiting mindset can you bravely and gracefully uncommit from, starting today? What could that unlock for what truly makes your highest contribution? Reflect on the profound liberation that one single act of subtraction could bring.